Hey everybody, welcome to G4G here on YouTube. Today we're back in the thick of it when it comes to gaming, and while not quite Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux, it is Marvel Strike Force. So last couple videos have been about some stuff that's been going on in social media, and I think we've beaten that topic to death. Probably as much as Five Guys have beaten that to death. So, we're going to go ahead and take a look at what's going on in Marvel Strike Force. And today we're going to discuss the most recent tier list, and we're also going to take a look at some Fantastic Four stuff going on. So, I'm going to go right over to supplies, and I'm going to go to orbs, and I'm going to open my elastic orbs, which is going to be Mr. Fantastic. So, most likely we will unlock him. So, I'm already at 14 out of 45 after getting 6, so we're probably well on our way to unlocking him very, very easily. And, you know, I've seen a post recently where somebody was like, you know, isn't it funny when you get the orbs, you always have just enough to unlock the person, and it seems like they're up to stuff. And I kind of want to be like, duh. That's kind of how this works with these kinds of games. It's like, it's been known for a long, long time that maybe one time, I think it was maybe Carnage, where I got a pack and then wound up being just shy of the unlock, and I forgot what I did to... Hello. Wow. Nice pull there. Fucking 60 Fantastics. Nice. And another holy crap. I didn't know I screwed somebody Irish today. Apparently, well, I'm Irish. There's Irish in my heritage, so I guess it's my own luck, but there he is. There's Mr. Fantastic. Unlock him at 2 stars, and then get to rank him up immediately to 3 stars. And now he's sitting at 60 of 80, which is pretty solid. Looks like he'd be fairly close to another rank up to get the 4 stars. So let's go ahead and take a look at him. He's Hero, he's Cosmic, Bio, Controller, Fantastic Four, and the somewhat short-lived category of Marvel 80th. He's a controller who uses his hyper genius to remove positive effects from foes. His level 1 attacks the primary target, chains to one adjacent target for less damage, counterattacks break, and it's a simple escalation of damage and targets where it eventually gets up to 3. We have Entangle, attacking the primary target for a rather high amount of damage, similar to Spider-Man, with a 30% chance to stun, except Spider-Man's is a guarantee. More damage, up to 50 to stun, more damage, way more damage, and then always applying the stun at level 7. To me, I think that's worth an orange to guarantee the stun. High energy cost, I think maybe at 6 they should have reduced it by 1, so that it would be a 5 pop instead of a 6, but oh well. Orbital Assault, clear defense up from the primary target, attack the primary target for a bucket of damage, whole bunch of extra focus for this attack, so probably good against somebody like Jessica, but I wonder how it's going to fare against somebody like Juggernaut, who tends to resist buff removal and everything, along with a couple others that get tons of extra resistance, and obviously you're not going to gain any more extra focus at 100,000%, but it looks like the damage really ramps up, and if it's starting at 170 and you see these 40s of 50, 50, 60, that's a lot of damage, and that's not a high energy cost by any stretch over there. You would think Entangle becomes more like the ultimate when Orbital Assault is so cheap. And then for Science, Resistance, Fantastic Four and Namor allies also gain resistance. I think it should be Fantastic Four allies and Namor in resistance, but okay, we're playing with grammar here. On self and each Fantastic Four ally's turn, 25% chance to apply assist now to self, Namor, or a random Fantastic Four ally. If assist now is applied, clear blind on that target, so bye-bye Mordo. On turn, choose one random enemy. If they have a positive effect, remove it. Focus. And the allies gain the focus. A higher chance to apply the assist now. Choose two random enemies. So, I mean, just a good person to have around that removes buffs. And if you don't, I mean, it's great if you team him up, obviously, with other Fantastic Four people. This game really, really likes obvious metas, and by obvious metas, I mean teams that say they go together. So they're forced to go together, like Spider-Verse, Sinister Six, Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D., Fantastic Four, all of that. But there are also sub-metas, and that's when you take characters and you mesh them together simply based on what they can do and how that synergizes with other characters. And he's good with somebody like Quake, who removes buffs, Hawkeye, who removes buffs and blinds, Doctor Strange, who flips them, Scientist Supreme, who will create debuffs on the enemies and then flip anything on themselves to positives. That's kind of handy. So he's interesting in a remove the buff meta, which is really good. And there are those sub metas that go on where you have people that traffic very heavily in putting debuffs out and prolonging them or doing stuff with it. So you have all the bleeders, and then you have Scarlet Witch, who prolongs debuffs, and you have Scientist Supreme, who puts them out, and then you have Carnage, who spreads them. So, and then there's of course a buff meta or a flipping meta, and he's pretty good at countering teams that like to run buffs or where buffs are important. And as long as he works on taunts, if he can remove taunts from people, yeah, he's going to be super handy, and he fits in with more than just, say, you know, outright Fantastic Four characters. So I'm just going to bump up his tier a little bit. I find it somewhat interesting that a lot of the representations of Richard Reed lately have sort of pushed his age up a little bit, and it almost makes it sound like the original two Fantastic Four movies that we had, where he looked relatively young in it, is now becoming the anomaly. But even the most miserable of the Fantastic Four is the reboot from more recently. Like, that was definitely the youngest looking Reed in there. So let's take a look at what we've got going with the Fantastic Four now. So we have a blitz going on right now that will get you Human Torch, and I've got a red star for him. And we will have Invisible Woman eventually, and we also have Namor. So for Human Torch, he's Hero Cosmic Bio Blaster, Fantastic Four, and Marvel 80th. There was a comic cover that I saw recently of the Human Torch versus the original Human Torch, and a lot of people brought back their PTSD of when it was Human Torch versus Human Torch in the early days of Marvel Avengers Alliance PvP, and God, were they nightmares, because fire hitting fire just never works out very well. So you have damage and applying bleed, similar to Pyro, and then it's just a ramp up of damage the whole way through until you get a bleed for 2 turns at the end for orange. I would say that's semi-worth an orange, but maybe not the most go out and get it first thing you can do orange out there for him, or for anybody else, but it's solid. I really wish, and I've been saying this for many videos now, I really wish they would come up with additional debuffs. Like, DC Legends just recently added disease in there, and that's cool. That's on top of having bleeds. Marvel Strike Force created one hit point reducing buff, and that's bleeds, and then they stopped. They clapped their hands, and then they just called it a day. And they need to do something different already. They need to have like poison or something. I mean, pyro causing bleeds from fire doesn't make sense. Same thing for Human Torch. If anything, fire cauterizes bleeding wounds, and it's represented that way in real life and in a lot of games. So, like, just call it burning. How hard is it to create a debuff called burning and have it act like you're bleeding? Just you reduce hit points as long as you're burning. But okay, whatever. And maybe even burning and chilled would fight each other. Like, if you're burning, you can't be chilled. Or if you get chilled when you're burning, the burning goes away and now you're chilled. Like they can't coexist on the same target. Intricacies. The game could do it. They're not doing it. Heating up. Gain an offense up to a maximum of 5 and attacks the primary target for damage. So when I did a Fantastic Four preview a while back, I remember thinking this is a good ability due to the fact that you gain a buff, but then you don't sacrifice a turn of doing damage. And so you ramp up the damage to the primary target. You apply offense up and apply it to 2 random Fantastic Fours or Namor. And then all the way down here at the orange, apply 2 offense up to self, 1 offense up to all Fantastic Four and Namor allies. 50% damage to primary target. This one I think is clearly a quick orange. Flame on, resistance to bleed, so it's setting you up for that Human Torch versus Human Torch fight. Gain damage, Fantastic Four and Namor. Gain damage, flipping a negative effect on self to a positive effect. So there's that sub-meta again that I was talking about that would work with like Scientist Supreme and everything. I know Scientist Supreme is considered absolute trash, but I've always had fun with her. She's recently dropped off the team that she was on, I'd say in the last couple months, but I do want to find a spot for her again. And this kind of a flip over here makes me think, you know, until Invisible Woman shows up, she might be a decent stand-in. And then Thing was straight damage the whole way through, making him a bit more of a bruiser than an actual tank. Attacking the primary target for damage, bonus attacks. Haymaker, attacking the primary target. I mean, I really feel like they just kind of phoned it in with Thing over here. He gains no defense up. He has no taunt. See, I mean, it's not like I'm missing it this time like I did with Rhino. I mean, it's just not there. And so he gains a counter. When attacked, attack that enemy for damage. Fantastic Four people and Namor get armor. I mean, it's nice they have a little bit of a defensive there built into his passive, but no stun. I mean, there's been a lot of discussions recently as who's more powerful, the Hulk or Thing. And there was a recent comic where Thing fought Hulk, but Hulk was mind controlled, and Thing did punch out Hulk. It almost seems like they're going into that mentality here, the straight up attacky bruiser. But, you know, often games have represented Thing as a bit of a tank or having more defenses. Like in Marvel Avengers Alliance, he is just really sloppy bad on offense, but he had a stun and he was a tank. And it's a bit surprising to me that Marvel Strike Force goes the completely opposite way and just makes him, you know, a real heavy bruiser over there. So we don't know Invisible Woman yet, but we do have Namor, and I think they do classify him as a mutant. So he's Namor, mutant brawler who helps the Fantastic Four wash away enemy teams during war. He's villain in this, but he's hero in Marvel Future Fight. I've got him at 4 stars. So he's a villain global mutant brawler, Marvel 80th. Neptune's Trident is damage and escalation of piercing. Tidal Wave is attacking the primary target for damage. Attack adjacent targets for damage. If somebody blocks, bonus attack them for 2 times for 40% and go ahead and pierce them. Giganto, attack all enemies for damage. On war offense, this attack always crits. Clear positive effects from each target. And we know what Mr. Fantastic does. And IMPERIUS Rex on war offense. On spawn, apply offense up for 2 turns to one random Fantastic Four ally or self. Apply deflect, gain damage, and the FF gain damage. So he's clearly their linchpin, and obviously they're all tied together. So you have the 3 available Fantastic Four, and we know we're going to get 4, and then he stands in as the 5th. In terms of what private metas he goes with, he goes with any team that wants to take care of a tank, and then, you know, clearing positive effects from each target. You can throw him with all the people that we mentioned for Mr. Fantastic. And, so my roster has been looking pretty good. Give you a lowdown on the teams that I've been having fun with lately. It's weird. I look at like my main team when it comes to Blitz, and I just don't use them as much as I used to because they're my workhorse team. They're like my job team, and that's these guys right over here. Gamora just recently dinged to 7 stars today. That was a fun trek, but she's only got 1 red star, and then I have my Black Widow at 5 stars, but she's a full 7 red stars, which is really made a lot of people jealous. But a lot of people are starting to get full 7 red stars now, so it's getting better. So I have a weak ass Sinister 6 that I added just for low fun. I have a power armor team with Vision anchoring them as tech. Falcon needs to be bumped up. You're not supposed to have somebody so much lower than the rest. But Falcon and Iron Patriot or War Machine need to come up. So these 2 are somewhat new, and then I have my Kree team with the Minerva that I'm finally beginning to give her the justice that she deserves. Ronan is a little too far behind on this team. The Reaper is a little behind the top 2, but she still puts out good damage, and she's got that heal block, so she can actually be a little bit weaker for a while. Ronan needs to come up. And then here we start the teams that I've had for a while. So this is a Mystic team. This is my Brotherhood that I don't have Magneto, so Kingpin stands in as the head of it all, as the linchpin. This is my Spider-Verse team. This is just a fun villain team with a bunch of summoners. You're just constantly throwing waves of ghosts at them. Pyro's in there for villain and disrupt and the bleed. Sabretooth is in there for the bleed. Sabretooth I think is very underrated. He does an amazing job. And then these 3 over here have all the summons. This is my Brawler team. I don't have a good America Chavez right now, and Miss Marvel, as you can see, she's creeping up into contention. She's not quite there yet, so she doesn't really deserve a place on this team yet, but she's getting there. So this is a modified X-Force and Brawler team, and there is a lot of additional attacks on this team, so it is possible that Miss Marvel will proc a Brawler join-in on Wolverine, who then procs a Mutant join-in with Storm. So yeah, there's a lot of extra single target attacks going here. There is a little bit of a tank in Miss Marvel, but she's not a designated tank, and they lack a little bit of healing. but they make up for it in just raw offense, and honestly Storm needs to be boosted to the rest of their levels there. This was my first fun team and my long-standing secondary team of a lot of buff clears and everything like that. Tons of AoE in here. My crossbones has really started to get very high for the rest of the team and actually can belong on my primary, and this is my primary over here, and that one's been my primary for a long time now. So let's take a look at what's been going on with Khasino's tier list. So the tier list come from this Reddit thread over here that Khasino, as a Khasino owner, posted 16 days ago, and here are all of his links to it, including 16 unique sure-to-win blitz teams, solo characters, top 5, and we're looking at a top 5 tier list. The key is that anybody on the right has a color that is a replacement for somebody on the left, and if they have a double color, it can substitute for either one of them. So arena defense, it's not going to be worth it to mentioning Ultron in these, because as more and more people go through Fear of the Darkness, Ultron is becoming so meta that he literally RKOs meta out the door, because he's mega meta. As you can see, he's everywhere, but okay, we'll sort of pretend he doesn't exist. We have basically a mutant team over here with some substitutions for Storm and Ultron. We have, that's a bit of an odd one here. It's hard to say a theme there. This is just all top characters. This is like everybody that's good in the game is on this team over here with Juggernaut. You have a modified Guardians team with a boost to Tech and Ultron. And honestly, if you take Ultron out of this one, Minerva's definitely a good stand-in for it. Or, of course, Drax, who boosts Rocket. But usually Mantis goes in there, too. You have another slightly tech team down over here with Fury. And then on offense, again, you have a military and mutant one. This is a little bit of an odd one. Again, another mega team of super high people. You have a tech team, Tech Guardians over there. Loki, Ultron. That one's interesting. This one's very interesting. I almost wonder what it would be like to combine Loki and Mystique, because of the two attacks that they have that make the other team attack themselves. You have Nick Fury leading a power armor / tech team over here, and then you have Raids, which again you have like a superpower team with Minerva and Ultron anchoring it, and of course Jean Grey with Dark Phoenix. A slightly modified Guardians team over here, where Minerva can be taken out. Not that I would think you would want to take Minerva out, but Ultron can go out for either Rocket or Marvel or Vision. This a good tank. Minerva's the healer. Shuri for buffs. Here's your Wakanda team that you would expect to see, and this is a bit of a modified shield team down here. And then we have the individual list, and to see what's going on over here, a red lightning bolt is Alliance War Essential, green is Raid and Dark Dimension Essential, and a plus means how many ranks they move up when you actually build a team around them. Seeing Cable over here, it's really sad to see him as just usable when he's so good in Marvel Future Fight. He's mega meta over there. So God tier, it's what you would expect, with Minerva having been called one of the best support in the game recently. I don't know if Rocket truly belongs in God tier unless he's part of a team, but he is part of so many that I think he deserves to be on the fringe of it, but I don't know that he necessarily deserves to be up there solo. Spider-Man, he's bounced around a lot, but his extreme dodging, and he does some pretty good single target damage, excuse me, that I think he kind of belongs right at the border. Thanos has moved up there, Crossbones has dropped, and now Vision's up there. Ultron isn't almighty. They don't have the whale category anymore, and Ultimus used to be part of the whale category, and it's really sad that somebody like Ultimus would be ranked as mediocre, but now you have Demigod with Black Panther moving up, likely Wakanda teams and Brawler teams. Carnage, he moves up probably with Spider-Verse, and I would also give him a nod for debuff teams. You have Coulson, who's not in the game, Cyclops, who isn't in the game, Deadpool, Drax. So weird to see Falcon come up here. Human Torch, so we have Fantastic Four on the list now. He moves up with a Fantastic Four/Namor team, but what's interesting is as much as Mr. Fantastic and Human Torch go into the God tier if you build a team around them, Thing only goes up to Demigod, and Namor only goes up to Elite, so poor Namor gets dusted by his compatriots over there. Mercenary, Miss Marvel, Punisher, who is sometimes straggled a little bit in a slightly lower ranking. War Machine's moved up a bit, likely due to the synergy and power armor teams. Yondu's still holding fairly steady there, although people are beginning to think a little bit less of him lately. In the Elite tier, we've got Colossus, who moves up 2, Crossbones, who moves up 1, Daredevil, who moves up 2, that's the Defenders. Doctor Strange moves up 1, probably due to Mystic teams. Gamora goes up, likely due to a Guardian team. People just aren't banking on Gamora anymore, and I don't know that she has deserved the plus. I like Gamora. She's part of my main team, and she's a super high punch-out artist for that team. Especially when she gets her ultimate going and just absolutely wipes somebody off the face of the earth and gets an extra turn out of it. But nobody seems to be that thrilled with Gamora anymore. Anytime somebody posts a team with her, is like, who can I get rid of to do this or that? Everybody points to Gamora. Green Goblin is a bit of a sleeper. He does really good. You don't expect him to, but he can put out some good damage. Groot, the Sentry, Hawkeye, Hulk each go up 1. Iron Fist goes up 2. He was always considered ultra trash, so it's weird to see him as elite and going up into god status. Juggernaut, Killmonger, Kingpin, Korath, Luke Cage, some of the mercenaries. Fairly standard fare going down over here. And then the usable, the standouts are Chavez going up 2, probably for a brawler team. The Kree going up for a Kree team. Poor Nebula. Nebula really isn't anywhere. She doesn't bring that much to the table that's interesting. Mysterio goes up 1 to Elite. Namor goes up 1, but is considered Alliance War Essential. Poor Night Nurse hangs out as just usable, and I've been abusing Night Nurse for a long time. The Shield Op always does this, where she goes up a lot if you put her on escort teams or shield teams, Nick Fury teams. Storm goes up 2 and is a raid essential because she holds her charge. Thor kind of borders on mediocre / usable in my book, but they're giving him a +2. I guess maybe original Avengers for that one. Bucky's dropped into usable. Wolverine gets a +2 with Phoenix. Mediocre is most of the aim. Some of the Hydra. Rescue, but she goes up +2 with power armor. There's my girl, Scientist Supreme, who goes only up +1. And then trash is the rest of Hydra, the rest of AIM. That poor hand assassin over there only gets a +1. This is a Kree who gets +2, and then the remainder, the Ravagers. So that pretty much covers it for the tier. And I think I'll just do one quick blitz here. It's funny, they're all going to be city. It's going to be really good. I think I will go with a team with the healer. It's always fun for me on Blitz going through the list of what I have to face and see how many priority targets are there. I don't like teams with 2 tanks, and I don't like teams with 3 or more priority targets. I like to kind of cap out as 2 must kills and must kill quickly. So like Crossbones is always one of them, because you don't want to get the AoE, but if you have a blind, that helps. See, like Shocker there, Shocker suffers from that thing that I was saying is good on Human Torch. He wastes a round of damage by doing the buff, and Human Torch doesn't have that. There's Meme Archer. By the way, ability block is also very good in dealing with Crossbones, and that's a way of knocking down his priority a little bit. And damn Rhino. Speaking of Rhino, Ace Ventura 2, Nature Calls was on TV earlier, and of course, you know, the Rhino scene, which, if you want to talk about memes, that's also a meme. I kind of admit I like what Vulture does when somebody dies, and he does the scavenger. It's almost, but not quite, as dirty as very long abilities in Marvel Avengers Alliance used to take. Some people would run delay teams very, very late in a PvP season, so Rescue was known as a big stall because she was so hard to kill. Even though you know you probably could kill her eventually, she was out there to be just to waste your time, so somebody's defense would be tied up for a long period of time, and thereby taking less defensive fights. And it's also done to annoy you to the part where you're like, come on, I need quick victories. I don't want to fight this team. It's going to take too long. It could be with even though Vulture's fairly quick, Carolina Dean was another one where she would go through animations that were sometimes super slow and laggy if she gained energy from people using energy attacks. So some people would throw a fairly buff Carolina Dean on their defense late in the season, the last few days of the season, because she just made everything so laggy. You're like, oh my god, I can't stand this. She's gonna do all this energy shit. So here, Hulk, Spider-Man, and the medic, to me, are all priority targets, because he's got the stun, he's got the big AoE, which is obnoxious now, and she's got the heal, so I'm gonna dump it on the stun. And unlike the AI, I don't like having Miss Marvel go into binary form super early in the match. I like having her build up a little bit. The AI sort of just kind of goes Leroy Jenkins with her, and always goes balls out. Damn, nice hit on the Oracle. That was a pretty spicy shot. Alright, so we've got the taunt. And I'm telling you, man, that Reaper can put out some underrated damage. This is maybe a little risky, get another round of charge over here, considering we know it's going to happen with the Hulk. But we're pretty healthy, and we outclass them. I kind of don't need this ability right now, but I'm going to do it more to get a little bit of damage on them. That's also a good one for getting rid of blocks. Now we go into binary mode. The Hulk is not put down, but his damage was fairly weak. And this team's got enough sustain anyway that weak damage from the Hulk would just be repaired pretty quickly. And he's still not dead. I don't want to waste Binary's second attack over there on a very weak Hulk. So, we'll just burn that one on Shield Medic. A little bit overkill, I bet. No? But the slam was. And see, that's another good... So, Minerva's another good stall person. With all of the procs that she does, that also consumes time. Amazing damage from that Reaper. See, this is why I like to wait a little bit on my Captain Marvel. You just get more rounds of her end of action slam over there. And, you know, it does sizable damage. I try to avoid teams with Miss Marvel if she's on par with my characters, because she's obnoxious. I mean, she blows her wad a little early in the match, but still obnoxious for a couple turns. Alright guys, thanks for checking out the Marvel Strike Force video that I've done here today. Gonna be a little bit interesting to see what happens with Invisible Woman. So, Marvel Avengers Alliance portrayed her as being a bit more on the defensive side. She was able to encase somebody in a force field, which makes it so they can't receive damage, but they can't do anything. Conversely, she also had that air pressure ISO that made it so her team couldn't be debuffed, and she had a little bit of damage on her level 1, but it wasn't that much home. It's nothing worth writing home about with her. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with her. Marvel Future Fight actually has her being somewhat stronger and very good mind-related damage, so Marvel Future Fight didn't probably have a way of really representing her energy damage in a way that kind of fits with her character, so they're calling it mind damage, which, okay, yeah, technically. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do for her. She's not going to be a blaster, and Brawler doesn't fit. So let's see what we've got over here. So, that's a Brawler. And Namor's a Brawler. He's going to be a Controller. He's going to be a Blaster. I don't know. I'm not really too sure what they could classify her as. They could potentially go with another form of Blaster. Maybe Support, where she puts up sort of like rescue level shields, and they'll go like the kind of Marvel Avengers Alliance route over there, but yeah, I'm not too sure. I don't know if they've leaked any of her abilities yet. So again, the tier list comes from Khasino. You can find them all over the place. If you know Marvel Strike Force, you probably know Khasino. I rarely ever catch his videos or streams, but I do like taking a look at his tier lists. So credit to him when it comes to this list. And hopefully soon I'll be able to get some Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux updates your way, but that all kind of hinges on when Alpha 5 comes out. But believe me, the moment I get my hands on a public build of Alpha 5, I'll be doing a video on it, because it's going to be a big alpha with a lot of updates on it. So thanks for checking this out, guys. Have a good one.